Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Boothy'S Beer and Banter, sponsored by Magic Rock. Firstly, can I thank you all for joining us again tonight, which we really appreciate. And it's good to see quite a few new faces on the screen. And just to let you know, if you want to ask a question tonight, just write it in the chat and I'll ask it for you. I say every week, it's a laid back hour, it's a bit of fun. You can ask as many questions as you like, or if you just want to sit there and listen to us guests, feel free. It's entirely up to yourselves. I'll try and get through most of your questions. If I do miss your question, I do apologise, but I'll try my best to ask every question. So the three firm fans' favourites the last 10 years, over 450 goals between them, all represented the country at senior international level. Obviously, we've got Alan Lee, Jordan Rhodes and Nahki Wells. Evening, lads.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Lads, firstly, can I thank you for joining us? Really appreciate you giving your time up tonight, especially on international, mentioning international duty. And I'm sure we're going to get a few messages and questions in the chat. And there's one rumour that's been flying around the last few months. We're not going to mention that, but I'm going to go straight on to a question for Alan and Jordan. So, obviously, Lee Clark signed you both. Was it an easy decision to join the club? Because at the time, I felt the club was really progressing, especially under Dean Oyle, the chairman. Al, that's for you. Was it an easy decision to join Huddersfield?
Yeah, it was very. I'd had a good season at Crystal Palace, but I suppose I was kind of reaching that age. I was maybe 31, kind of had one, challenging left in me. I'd just gotten engaged to my wife, and kind of everything, even from a personal standpoint, we just thought it would be nice to go up on a bit of an adventure. I knew George and Gary Roberts, from my time at Ipswich. I was very impressed with Lee Clark. The setup of Huddersfield, it was only going one way. So, yeah, it was quite exciting at the time.
Yeah, and Jordan, you look back. I think when you signed, obviously you signed a season before Alan, and I think there was 7 signings that season. Obviously yourself, there were Danny Drinkwater, Peter Clark, Lee Novak, Theo Robinson, Lee Peltier. So quite a few big names and good players. And obviously you scored a lot of goals like you did every season. But that season it went well until we got to the playoffs, and we ended up playing Millwall. What happened? Because I can't even remember. I can remember the scores 0-0 and 2-0 defeat, but the games just seemed a bit to say we're a playoff, a little bit not really anything special.
Yeah, we didn't quite play how we would have liked to have done on the day. I think I was only 20 at the time, and it was quite a daunting occasion. It was, really intimidating atmosphere going down to the Den for that second leg. And yeah, we never really sort of laid a marker on them, unfortunately. Maybe that was the naivety of having such a young squad at the time. But after such a long season and a young squad, and how well we did that year, maybe it was just one step too far.
Obviously, we'll come back to the rest of the playoff seasons. But Nahki, I've got to ask you, obviously a lad from Bermuda, and looking up, how did you end up at Eccles-Hill United for your first club in England?
Well, I wasn't signed for Eccles-Hill. I was in a program called Raisa, which was a university program which combined with football and schooling. Everyone knows Dave worked. I can't even get his name out. Struggling his name. Most people in football will know him. He's working with the FA right now. So that was a program that brought me to England, and I had aspirations of being a footballer, but I knew to get to England, the avenue was trying to obtain a degree and have something to fall back on, and from that I did well in the program, and They had links with Ecclesfield, they had links with Bradford, they had links with teams like that. And then I just trained with Ecclesfield. I didn't actually register. I wasn't a registered player or anything like that. I trained with them prior to getting an opportunity at Carlisle. So that was, you know, a quick gist of what got me to England. I came over for university at 20. But, you know, I wanted to be a footballer, of course.
Of course, yeah. And I've got to ask you, because I looked up, obviously, where you lived. And are you from Hamilton? Is it? And
yeah, I'm from Devonshire. I'm from Devonshire, which is I think, one or two parishes down. It's a small island, so it's not big. It's only 24 square miles long, 65,000 people. So it's a really small place in comparison to what, you know, you guys are used to. So yeah, Devonshire is the parish.
And how did you adapt, Nahki? Obviously, you're coming from Bermuda to Huddersfield, well, not Huddersfield, Bradford, West Yorkshire. It must be a little change in culture.
Yeah, it was. You know, initially I was living in Leeds city centre, so I enjoyed that bit, the student life and what that brought, and then the culture shock of going up to Carlisle, because that was my first, you know, professional club. A lot of people kind of forget, because I only made like 3 appearances and I think a handful of minutes. I was young. I wasn't really ready. I was ready mentally, but I didn't really had what it took to, you know, to get into that side, that League One side at the time, who I think they finished around 9th or 10th in the league, and I kind of just got released, which, looking back on my career, is probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I took that as an opportunity to bounce back from. I said I didn't want to give up on a go. I didn't know where I was going to go. I just went home, trained hard. I didn't have a sum off because I didn't need one, because I didn't play all season, and came back fit as possible. And then a trial appeared at Bradford, and that's just kind of where it started. I had a fantastic pre-season, and they offered me a deal, and it was just one of those, you take what you get given, and that was the start, really.
And just before we move on, obviously then you left Bradford for Huddersfield. I'm sure there were quite a few Premier League teams, other teams going. It was great for us, great for the Huddersfield fans, but how did the Bradford fans feel to you moving to your local rivals?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was one that I found it difficult to leave at the time, because we had such a good period. You know, we the cup final, then the playoff final, and then I started the League One season off, you know, very well. I think I had I think it was like 15 goals before New Year's, and you know, the opportunity presented itself to come to Huddersfield, and for me it was all about elevation. I didn't believe that I was going to get to where I wanted to, which obviously everyone's dream is the Premier League, with Bradford at the time. You know, Huddersfield presented itself. Other clubs showed interest, but Huddersfield were keen, and I felt like that was a great place to move to still continue that progression in my career. And you know, looking back, it did prove to be, you know, the right decision.
Definitely. And moving on, just before, well, there's a few questions, but it's not even a question, and this is from Paula. Not a question, just a massive thank you to what the 3 did at the club. P.S. Nahki, thanks for coming from Bradford. I have a lot of Bradford fans who used to rib me. Also, Jordan, please come back from Joe, and say we're not going into that tonight. Alan, I don't like to bring it up, but we've got to talk about, well, I do like to bring it up. Got to talk about it took a while for you to get your first goal, but what a goal, and what a fantastic day that were down at the Emirates.
Yeah, it was really special. Obviously, as a centre forward, you know, the last thing you want is a goal drought starting off at a club. You know, it just, you know, I think at the start I was playing quite well, doing this job. And then after a while, it really affects you. It can really, you know, it's so important to be confident as a centre forward. I think the fans could probably see I was trying my best. I was working hard. The ball just wouldn't go in the net. The day at Arsenal was slightly different setup. You know, we weren't going there to, you know, we didn't have aspirations for a cup run. We knew the priority was getting up in the league. So I think I might have started on my own up front, and the really good centre forwards like Jordan were rested. And it was one of those days. Jack Hunt played his first game after coming back. So it wasn't our best team, but there was just a feeling from the start that, you know, there might be something in this for us. And we were causing them problems, obviously 1-0 down. I managed to get my head on a corner. Jordan will say shock. I think that I look back at the celebration, because obviously I'm showing the kids now I actually scored against Arsenal, and those emotions, that moment is just priceless. And the two centre forwards will tell you here, you know, nothing can replicate, no money can buy that feeling of scoring a goal that really counts. I remember jumping about 10 foot in the air, and it meant a lot to me, that moment, and the fans cheering my name, and I had family in the stand as well. And I remember my cousin was our first speaker. This crowd of people were chanting my name. So it was a good way to end a terrible goal drought.
But the fans were always brilliant to you, weren't they, Al? They always supported you. And just going back to the Arsenal, what was Cesc Fabregas like? Because for me, he cheated that game. He reffed the game, and the ref let him.
They brought him on, but geez, he was good. You know, I remember him. At that point, I was kind of tackling back into midfield, and we were kind of getting close, but he just had this sixth sense. Wherever he might have his back to you, but he had a sixth sense to move the ball and get away from you, and he was just on a different level. I can't remember. I think there was a bit of a dodgy penalty decision, but then again, you know, every penalty decision against you, you claim as dodgy.
Brilliant. And question for Jordan. This is from Paul. One of my biggest highlights, being at the front, seeing Peter Clark playing you in versus Sheffield Wednesday, knowing you were going to bury it, that 96th minute equaliser. What was the feeling like scoring those 4 goals, and especially against your dad's team at the time?
Yeah, just one of those really freakish, incredible days where it's just a really good day at the office. I think nearly everything that I hit that day kind of went in, and some days you make the run to that front post and it goes back, and sometimes you make the run to the back and it goes front. It was just almost sixth sense of just knowing where the ball was going to be at the right time. And yeah, that moment of getting on the end of his pass, 94th, 5th minute, something like that. And then, seeing the ball go in the net. Because I never scored against my dad's team before. I think maybe twice, 3 times played them beforehand, and not really come close to scoring. So for it 4 to happen all on the day and to be 4-4 was almost a perfect family scenario.
And what did your dad say afterwards then? Did he congratulate you? Surely he must have been happy for you.
Oh, he was ecstatic. He's sitting on his hands, to be honest, in the Sheffield Wednesday dugout. So, it was probably the best outcome for him personally, and for my mum as well, sat in the director's box with Gary Megson's wife and Neil Thompson's wife at the side of her. So, yeah, I think in my mum and dad's, in their eyes, it was probably the best outcome.
And just talking about that season, 2011-12 season, you scored 4 against Sheffield Wednesday. You scored 5 against Wickham in the 6-0 win. You scored about 5 or 6 hat tricks and something like that season. 36 league goals, 40 goals. What a season you had! You must have thought you were going to score every game. And we've got Al, Nahki, myself. It's not easy to score goals, and you just made it look so easy.
I don't know about that. It was just, I was just trying not to think about it too much. I guess I had the naivety of youth about me as well, then that I never really thought about it too much. And if ever times ever get tough, I do think back to that season, some of them games where I found myself in scenarios and trying to replicate it. sort of going into games when I wasn't feeling so as confident. But to have somebody like Al at the side of me, someone that's, you know, been there and got international caps and been there right at the highest level. I cleaned his boots at Ipswich, so, you know, just for him as a mentor, as a role model, and talking me through all sorts of different scenarios, as almost with a coach's head on as well, was really beneficial in that season. And yeah, if it wasn't for him, I'm sure that total wouldn't have been as much as it was.
Al, what kind of apprentice was he? Was he a good boot cleaner?
No, he was dreadful. You know what he's like. I always had to be on him. Listen, there's no secret. Myself and Jordan are mates who go back a long way. Yeah, it was always, you know, I think Jordan's, I think first and foremost, well brought up by his parents. So you didn't have to chase Jordan up to do your boots. He always did extra. He was always this nice, polite boy. In fact, it was the other way. I used to try and get him on a night out, but probably just as well he wouldn't come.
Great tipper, yes. Great tipper.
Well, I think my last ever boot boy, and you've already mentioned it tonight, was Jack Hunt, and he was the worst. But I ended up cleaning his boots. It was the worst. I was pleased if he just got him to the game on time. And when Brookie told me that I had Jack Hunt, oh no. But I can imagine Jordan being a good apprentice, and I say, and Alan would definitely be a good tipper as well. I know that.
Yeah.
Question for Nahki from Andy, and I might pass this on to you, Jordan, the other way. Nahki, how confident were you when stepping up at Hillsborough? And we'll talk about the Wembley one after. But obviously that Hillsborough, and I'm going back to the game first. We're 1-0 down. And are you still trying to claim that goal? Because there's no way that goal can be yours. But you went off. Were you just celebrating for Colin, just saying it with a goal?
No, because at the time, if you look back at it, I'm not actually looking at the ball, and I kicked the I don't know, the defender's foot, and I thought I kicked the ball. I didn't know until I saw the video back that it wasn't me. So I genuinely thought I scored it. I'm not one of those who tries to steal a goal. You know, I think you know when you've scored or not. You can't celebrate you haven't. But I genuinely thought, and the fact that the importance of it right in front of defense, just it was hard not to be excited. You know, we was down. You know, it was quite late in the game. The ball got squared. I thought I got to it. And I looked back and it was in the back of the net. I'm like, surely it's come off for me, celebrating. And so after I saw it got chalked off and went down as an own goal. But yeah, that was a big turning point. You know I didn't score the goal, but I had to make the run. And obviously Colin Craner, who you know did fantastic to help create the situation. You know, that was, you know, a big turning point in what we went on to do.
Yeah. And we're sick with 4 strikers here with over like 600 goals between us. You've got to claim as many as you can. You claim everything. Moving on to that penalty, Nahki, what were your feelings? And I'll ask Jordan the same. Obviously, we scored all 4. You'd scored yours, and all Jack Payne had to do was walk up and score his. What were you feeling when Jack missed his?
You know, it was just like, it was a bit of a deflation. I know a penalty shootouts that can happen. You can take the worst penalty and score. You can take the best penalty that you could have possibly imagined and somehow it don't go in the net. And, you know, I was confident for Jack. You know, I felt he had a really good ratio when he took them. He was brave. He wanted to take it. And it just didn't go in. You know, it was a little bit of because had he scored, we would have won, of course. And, you know, just real surprised. And I think it went on to Forestieri next, who then I think missed. I can't remember. But yeah, it was just one of those where I just thought it's going our way here. Jack's going to score. You know, you never have any doubts about your teammates. I just think you're very confident in them. And it just not happened to be. The keeper made a good save. And it then went on to Forestieri.
Yeah, and obviously Jordan, Jack had missed the penalty, so you're now back in it and Forestieri steps up, and we're all thinking he's not going to miss, and then it's obviously going to go to sudden death, and unfortunately for yourself, he missed again. Completely different feelings to Nahki.
Yeah, do you know what? I can't really remember too much of the night. My memory's not too great about it, but yeah, I think Nando was probably our designated penalty taker at the time. So yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes a fullback can come up and stick it straight in the top corner, and then sometimes your designated penalty taker. I think Ronaldo did one in the Champions League a few years ago for United. And yeah, sometimes your penalty takers go up and miss, and then your fullbacks go up and stick one in the top corner. But yeah, it wasn't to be that night. It wasn't our day, and yeah, it was an unfortunate way to end the season.
Yeah, and I'm sure a little bit later we'll get on to talking about your penalties at Alan here at Wembley.
Please do.
Wait for that. Yes. So from Paul, for all three players, excluding the playoffs, what was your favourite game for Town? Starting with you, Al. I know you might even.
Yeah, I think we probably talked about the Arsenal game. If I'm honest, I don't think the Town fans ever saw me at my best, and that's me brutally honest. I think physically I just wasn't the same. But that day at Highbury for the relief, if nothing else, the stadium's wonderful. That's my favourite game. But I can't pick out a game where where I felt I really bossed it.
Yeah. Nahki, what were your, apart from the playoffs, obviously, what were your favourite?
I'd probably say, apart from the playoffs, I'd probably say going up to Newcastle and winning. That was the season they come down. I think Rafa Benitez was in charge. I could be wrong. I think so. That was the season they went back up. That was the season we went up as well. I think it was the first game of the season. I think we went up to Newcastle. We carried a lot of fans up there, and we beat them. I scored up there, one of the best stadiums I've played in the country. Amazing fans. We was able to beat them. I can't think of any other big ones. I might be wrong, but that was definitely a good one. And the manner in which we done it, Jack Payne come on and scored quite late in front of the home fans, and that was the start, I guess, of our really good season.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously finished in promotion to the Premier League. Jordan, you must have hundreds of games, all the goals you scored, but can you pick us one?
I think that Sheffield Wednesday game, for a number of reasons. Yeah, that has to be sort of number one in my eyes, in my memory.
Yeah, there's a question here, but I'm just going to ask you the one before. Obviously, Alan, Jordan, the playoffs. We had a fantastic season, but I'm going to play Bournemouth. Obviously, 3-3. What a fantastic night. Anthony Kay scored, I think, in the 104th minute in extra time. It looked like we were dead and buried. But what a night! What an atmosphere! And did you take a penalty, Al? Or I know you came on. Did you not take one?
Against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah.
No, I think I was fifth, but I didn't get to fifth.
No, it was 4, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure I saw your name, and obviously, but yeah. So you obviously not needed, but what a fantastic night. But then I want to talk about the playoff final at Peterborough, Old Trafford, and this might be more for you, Al. The questions for Jordan, but Lee Clark all week had talked about it were going to be a home match for us. I don't even think you stayed in a hotel that night. Did you stay at home and travel to the Old Trafford, to Manchester that morning? And then all week talked about home games and plays the away system. So how surprised were you that you've got a lad, Jordan, there? I know you were on the bench as well, Alan, and I'd have played you both, to be honest. But should Jordan, for not to have played in the playoff final, were ludicrous, wasn't it? Or were they a plan that we were going to change maybe after 60 minutes?
well, listen, yeah, do you know what? That whole, we just got the build-up wrong because, you know, I think that, listen, clearly it's a mistake, and whichever way you look at that, and I'm sure he'd admit that himself. But I seem to remember we went away for a little trip golfing for a few days beforehand, and there was kind of a fight between two of the lads broke out one day, you know, and there was things happening. It just felt that we were preparing wrong, you know, even the fact that it was an Old Trafford and that, oh, this could be an advantage for us, you know, we got the preparations all wrong, and it didn't feel right. And you're right what you say. What, you know, you've got the best the best goal scorer in English football, and he's on the bench. So I remember the two of us came on at 2-0 down, I think, or 3-0 down, and I think we were quite disappointed because, you know, we felt we're not getting back from this now. You know, the damage is done. So yeah, it wasn't great, but the preparation, I think we learned from that the next year.
Yeah, definitely. We all know what happened next year, and we'll come after that. We've got a question for Nahki from Paula. Nahki, how did you feel after missing the 2 pens against Fulham, and still can't believe we lost that game? I can't remember it. Sorry to put you on a negative, missing 2 penalties. All the penalties you've scored and all goals you've scored, and we're talking about 2 penalties you missed.
No, I've missed enough pens to not be disappointed too much. Look at that, my catch was at the window, by the way. Yeah, no, it was a surprise to me. I don't think I had missed a penalty before that game. I don't have any recollection of missing one. And I just remember being, I think everyone in the chat will understand when you stepped up and you've just been absolutely so confident that you're not going to score. I mean, that you're going to score. You know, I vividly remember making a error and changing my mind when I did. And I think probably all of us know when we've done that, I just didn't take it the way I would have liked. Keeper saved it. And then I think a few minutes later, we got another one. But because I knew what I'd done wrong, and I just wanted to right that wrong, and I didn't want to shy away from any pressure. I didn't want to think about missing a second because that never entered my mind because I hadn't missed before. I was just like, look, I'm taking it again. Let me redeem myself for the team. Let me just do what I'd done wrong. And I took the next pen and it just hit the inside of the post, went across the line, didn't go in, and I was just in total shock. And I just thought, okay, I'm human. I can miss pens. You know, it is what it is. And then we just was full domination, total domination, and we didn't win. And I had to go on international after that, and I was just sick. As one of the lowest points in my footballing career after missing those 2 pens, just because I did let the team down. You know, I was so confident, and no one really dragged the ball away from me. And I think they probably was confident myself, but I just missed. And, you know, crazy enough, I went on international and got a pen, and I just had to just take it and stick it away and just slammed it down the middle. So it was definitely a sickening moment, and one of the worst times in a low point in my career, especially missing the 2 in the one game.
Hey, Nahki, I'll never ever say anything because I didn't even have the guts to take a penalty in senior football. I took 2 in reserves when I won hat-tricks, missed them, and 1 in junior match on a hat-trick, and I missed that. So I've never ever scored a penalty, and obviously never taken one as well. So for you lads stepping up, especially at Wembley and especially under that pressure, my hat's off to you. Al, you've got a few questions here. First one from Tom. Alan, are you aware of your celebrations being coined the Lap of Lee by some town fans? I sometimes enjoyed watching your celebrations more than the goals themselves. True legend, super Alan Lee.
I can see Jordan laughing there. Listen, if I saw a young lad not celebrate a goal, I'd have a proper go at him. So, and I think as you get older, I loved playing football more and more as I got older. Do you know what I mean? I wish I embraced it as much as I did when I was younger. And I suppose part of me thought, this could be my last goal. You know, they're really precious. So yes, I used to go absolutely bananas anytime I scored a goal. I wouldn't be embarrassed about it at all. The lads would be ribbing me all the time. I didn't care. I was going to milk it.
Don't blame you. And Jordan, just moving on, what Alan said there, obviously, milk it. But, and we're talking a bit before we came on. What's it like now scoring a goal in front of no fans? It must be horrendous playing, but to score a goal, Alan wouldn't have celebrated like he did surely in front of an empty stadium.
Do you know what? The feeling's still the same. You know, that moment, I think I read in Paul Scholes' book a few years back, that moment of when you kick that ball, you'll know, as we're all on this chat, you'll know when you kick that ball and you know it's beating the keeper, but it hasn't quite reached the goal yet. And there's that anticipation, there's that feeling in your stomach. There's just no better feeling. And yeah, if you could bottle it up, you'd make a lot of money from selling it. So you know what, the feeling's still the same. Obviously, the celebration things afterwards is a little bit muted. Not quite the atmosphere and the everybody in it together type feeling that, you know, everybody's watching it behind a computer screen or a TV screen. But yeah, the feeling that you get scoring the goals like nothing else.
Is it difficult to pick yourself up, Jordan, for the game? Because obviously you prepare yourself exactly the same for every single game, but there were times when I played, you were just feeling a bit off it, a bit below par. But as soon as you walk out that tunnel and you hear them fans and you see the atmosphere, it really does lift you and pick you up. But now I've not been to a game for a year, so I don't know what it's like. But it must be difficult for you to get yourself up to that level for the game.
I've not really played too many games in the last couple of years, so every game's precious. So
you enjoy them?
I really do. I'm just enjoying. I'm enjoying whenever I get out there and running around. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And I'm going to, from Paul of this, Alan, and I told you we'd have to get round to it. The penalties: Sheffield United 0, Huddersfield Town 0. Not the greatest of games. Goes to penalties. We've missed the first two penalties. You step up, and you must think, I've got to score. If we're going to have any chance, you've got to score. Talk about what were going through your mind walking up from the halfway line.
Well, first of all, Nahki, you know when you say sometimes you hit a bad penalty and you score? Well, I hit a dreadful penalty and it got saved. Believe me, it was. Listen, I was fully conscious of what that moment meant for the fans, the owner, the players. You know, there'd been big investment to bring us all there, and there'd been so much work, the heartache of the year before. If I was younger, I mightn't have been as conscious about that, but I was totally conscious of what it meant. In the weeks beforehand, I'd done my knee in a game against Leyton Orient away, and my knee was the size of a balloon. I was taking all sorts of pills, and I shouldn't have been playing. But we needed a target man, and there was no way I was pulling out. So I kind of cut down in training, and I remember taking penalties a couple of days before, and I thought, for the first time ever, I do not fancy taking a penalty. I just do not fancy it. And I never had that feeling. And I just had this dread that it was going to come. And sure enough, it came. It was a horrible day, absolutely horrible day. Playoffs, there's just so much riding on them. No one enjoys it until you've won. But then I saw Tommy miss and Damien miss, and some sort of mad psychology. I said, I've never seen 3 misses in a row, you know, so I just have to hit the target. I just have to hit the target here. Hit an awful penalty, got saved. And because they'd scored their first 2, I'm walking back to there, and I'm in my head, I'm going, tomorrow morning, I'm retiring. I'm quitting. I'm not going to take any more money from this club. I've let everyone, you know, you just, it feels so personal, because there's no way we're coming back from that. There's no way that, you know, you could foresee what happened. So it was, listen, the boys got me out of a massive hole there. Probably made it all the more special the day and the celebrations afterwards. But I threw them all a good party the next day. You better believe it.
The worst thing for you though, Alan, obviously you've missed the penalty, and then you stood on the halfway line. Alex Smithers goes and obviously taking the penalty. Surely something must come through in your head thinking, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to take another penalty here.
Oh yeah, listen, I was thinking, how do I get out of this? You know, that's how negative. The last thing on earth you want to take is another one. It was, yeah, you're right. That was actually, at first you're elated. We're thinking, oh, we're going to win this now. And then we're thinking that this negativity in my head, which I hadn't had before, they got me out of a hole, as I said. But I think that's kind of the problem. Maybe I don't know, for the two boys as well. As you get older, the background becomes more relevant, and the pressure becomes more relevant. When you're younger, you don't think of that. I think that affected me as a player. It certainly affected me that day.
Well, Jordan, obviously you had to take a sudden death penalty, and that is obviously the pressure with Alan. If he missed his, there were three that missed, so there's three to blame. But probably everybody had forgotten Al, Damien, and Tommy Miller's penalties. If you were the one to miss the sudden death one, it'd be you that got the blame. So the pressure on that, it must be unbelievable.
Yeah, and like Al said after the game, it was just so hot, wasn't it? And it was just, everybody was sort of energy sapped. Tommy's got an incredible record with his penalties, and that was a shock. And I've seen Al many a time turning up at Portman Road and seeing Al score them for his hat tricks and things like that and reeling away. So yeah, it was just one of those bizarre scenarios. And knowing Al as close with Al as what I am, I was just so gutted for him. And obviously all's well that ends well, and we won and we had a great party the next day. And I think even then Al was getting like a little bit of stick from Robbo and Sean Morrison and bits and bobs and about his penalty the previous day, but that actually hurt me. I was genuinely gutted for Al, because I wanted him to score that so badly and get us on the right path and get us going. And it was, it bothers me to this day. Like, sort of, we come on this phone call and we talk about it, because Al's got so many great qualities and great attributes that we talk about the misses and things. And it's I know it's football, but yeah, it pains me as one of his good mates.
I love that, Jordan. That just shows how nice you are. And I'm not just saying you have got to be one of the nicest people I've ever met in football. And
I'll tell you different.
To know you, Jordan, to get to know you. So, Nahki, it seems like we're going to be talking about penalties all night, but the playoff final to get the champion, to get into the Premier League, Hef has just missed, and obviously you're next up. I think yours were the most important and the most pressured penalty out of the five of them. I know Chris Schindler gets the glory, but yours is the most pressurised penalty of the lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, to see Hef miss and then them score again, and I think they made it 3-1. I believe. Then I stepped up. I kind of knew I had to score. I had taken a penalty against El Habsi before. I kind of went down the middle, and I just thought, look, let's just change it up again. And the surprising thing is, I took the penalty. I just took it with confidence. I stuck to my gut feeling. I went the opposite way to the last penalty I took, and he just stood there, stayed down the middle, kind of guessing I might go there. And, seeing it go in was, a great feeling, knowing that, looking back, I do agree with you. I do think that was a very pressurized moment. It was probably the turning point. But it was weird. I didn't feel no pressure in either the penalty shootouts. I felt pressure in penalties before, but in those stages, I found a way to just be zoned in whilst taking the penalty. I stayed relatively confident, stuck to what I said I would do, and I executed it. But you know, my memory of it all was just very quiet, just in the zone. Kind of blocked out everything. I didn't let the occasion get the best of me, because that can, you know, very well happen.
Yeah, I say I admire anybody who takes penalties at any time. So, question for you again, Nahki, for Michelle. Nahki, do you have any regrets not staying at the club and playing in the Premier League for Town? Obviously, I think you played 47 games in the playoff season. You'd scored one of the most important penalties, got us into the Premier League, and then didn't get the chance to play in the Premier League with Huddersfield.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was one of the maddest times in my career, because I know I played a significant part in that season. I'd hold my hands up and say I didn't get the figures that I would have liked as our focal point. You know, I scored a lot of important goals, but I didn't score enough goals that season. You know, we went through the playoffs, we got promoted, and immediately I just said, look, I believe my future's at this football club. I obviously hadn't had that sorted out at the time, because I had going into my last year, my contract. I came back to pre-season, you know, very confident that I'm going to have a chat with David Wagner on day one about my future and about us moving forward together. And turned up and had a meeting first day, and was just told I was sixth choice striker. I went from first choice striker to sixth choice, and we only signed 2 strikers. So you tell me how that works out. But you know, it's football, it's business. I understand the whole, you know, situation as a whole. I wanted to get the football club. My goal was to get to the Premier League. I didn't have no aspirations of going backwards, leaving a boy from Bermuda who played in every league going up, and I finally made it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the right pre-season. I started off fantastic first 7-8 days. I know I had competition because we spent a lot of money on Meunier and De Potre. And then along with that, we had Elias Kuchunga, we had Colin Quina, we had myself. I didn't believe I was sixth choice. And I had an ankle issue. You know, been very fortunate in my career. Nearly every season, been able to play 30, 40 games. And a screw protruded over my ankle that I had an operation when I was young. And then I had to get an operation in pre-season after being told I was up against it. So then I knew I was really up against it. I did my rehab. Still convinced that, okay, I still contracted. I still can fight for my place. If I'm sixth choice, I'll work my way in to get in the squad. And I was kind of showed the exit door. I was showed the exit door that was the only way I was going to go. And for me, I didn't want to leave to go back to the Championship. I felt I had done everything I can to get to the Premier. I deserve an opportunity to be here. You know, and Burnley came knocking at the door, and they presented themselves to offer me a good contract. I felt a very good club who's established, who, you know, isn't in danger of going back down. So I had that stability, you know, a long contract. And I just thought, why not? I felt like I ticked the box. I felt like I'd go in and fit into their system. You know, they played a direct style, kind of 4-4-2. Andre Gray was there the season before, who played off of Rhodes and stuff like that. And the system, I genuinely believe that I was good enough to go in and play my part. But going in injured is a strange one. I don't know if anyone else has signed at a club injured, because that was the only injury I've endured in my career, really. I had to miss the first 2 months, and it was what's happening here? 1 second.
You're right, Nahki, we can still hear you. You're
Okay,
all right.
something popped up, and then once I, got into the side, and Burnley was flying. I find it difficult. The strikers were fantastic. Everyone in here probably know what it's like to be behind someone who's continuously scoring, and there's nothing you can do. Sean Dyche just saw a manager who kind of stuck to what he believed in and didn't change from that irrespective. And we had a fantastic year that year. We finished 7th in the Premier League, and I was limited opportunities. in hindsight, I do believe I would have had a much better Premier League CV if I stayed at Huddersfield, irrespective. I believed in my abilities. I think we had spells where I think what I offered would have been essential. I think David Wagner knew what I had to offer was completely different to what we brought in. And in hindsight, I try not to have regrets, but it's it's easy to look back now and see. And I don't have any doubts that at the time I was making the right decision. It just didn't pan out. But I definitely would have had a much better Premier League career had I stayed at Huddersfield, despite the challenges that I was up against.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe you're sick. Well, obviously you want six striker, but for him to say that, and yeah, Depatrick Mounier came in, but to play what you did the season before, not to give you a chance. And Michelle says she was gutted when you left the club, by the way. So she was devastated when you left. And then Stuart's asking similar question to Alan and Jordan. Starting with you, Al. Did the lads leave the club at the right time for them? And was it unexpected or by mutual agreement?
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You left the club just.
Yeah, I was near the end. I just had we just had my little girl, our first child, and it was kind of a weird one really because Mark Robbins came in as manager, and I played with Robbo before. The chairman has said, "I want you to stay on and do some coaching or whatever," and what I was going to do, I went in for negotiation, like cut my wages and spread it over 2 years. And earn less that way, and that was supposed to happen. But Robbo won his first few games and kind of said to me, he called me in one day and said, "Listen, Al, you're not going to be involved, and just so you know, you can still train with us, but you're not going to play again for the club." And I was a bit taken aback. I said, "All right, okay," but the next few weeks they kept losing games. And I'd done quite well in the championship, not starting, but coming on, affecting games, scoring goals or creating things. And as the pressure wore on, and then he phoned me one night and said, "Listen, Alan, I think there's been some sort of some cross wires, but you're going to play and be involved in every game, and the chairman's going to sort out next year. So if you can come back in and get the lads going." And I'm like, "Robbo, I've not changed anything. I've been the first one in and the last one to go. I've been in before you every day. I've not changed at all." I didn't give him anything to say I'm, down tools. And he goes, yeah, just a bit of cross wires. So anyway, I was sub for the rest. He'd bring me on, and eventually we stayed up. And the next day, called me in for a meeting and said, "Oh, well, listen, Alan, you won't be here next year. We don't want you to coach." And I said, "Well, so you said that it would be all sorted out." He goes, No, you don't want to stay here, do you?" And I just thought, my dad was dying at the time, and he was living in Suffolk, and I just felt so let down. But I didn't have any fight in me, so we literally went home. I said to Catherine, "Bring the kid home." 2 days later, I shut the door in Huddersfield and never came back. So it was quite a sad way to end. But I think it was down to more Mark Robbins. I don't know whether he was intimidated by me or what, but it probably, from a personal point of view, probably worked out for the best. We're nice and settled down here, and it feels like home now. But I felt a bit sad at the time.
Yeah, that's disappointing to you. So you don't get to hear anything like that. You never know what's happening behind the scenes at the club. Because I can remember you saying, you quoted, and I wrote it down, "The fans are so supportive of me, it just melts my heart." So the fans were brilliant, and you were brilliant to the fans. So for you to leave the club like you did, it must have been difficult for you.
Yeah, I think the quote was, "The fans were so sympathetic for me." But Catherine's from Suffolk, my wife. We kind of moved up and bought right into Huddersfield, and we lived in the town centre, and it was a special time for us, first kids. So we were really You know, down south, everyone thinks it's very grim up north, and you get all the jokes. We loved it. We'd have very happily have stayed. Yeah, it was a shame it didn't work out that way.
Yeah. And obviously, and Jordan, obviously yours were completely different to Nahki Allen. In the end, Blackburn were offering it 8 million, but I still didn't think Dean wanted to sell you. He kept refusing and turning them down, but obviously 8 million, he had to accept that. An unbelievable fee, and you were the most expensive outfield footballer outside the Premier League. So obviously a great move for you. But I'm sure you were sad to leave the club.
Yeah, I was really sad. Yeah, we just had such great memories. We had a really good start to the season. I think was it Cardiff and Burnley, and then maybe another game. So we started really well under Simon Grayson that year, and yeah, the opportunity, Blackburn coming along, and the fee obviously was clear that they were very passionate to get me in. Yeah, it was an opportunity that was too good to turn down.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. I was just reading a couple of the chats there, and going back to Nahki there. Nahki was first choice for all the town fans. We were so sorry to see you go. And Jordan, I think they understood. I'm not saying they want sorry to see you go. That's completely the wrong thing. I think they understood it. £8 million were fantastic, and you look what you did there and carried on. Sorry, I'm just. So we've only got about 7 minutes left. I can't believe it's flown again. And a couple of questions. First one to you, Nahki. Who did you room with at the club who was your roomie for them few years you were there?
Huggy. I was with Huggy for, I think, the duration of my, 3 years, of my 3.5 years, I was with Huggy. So, you know, he had to run my bath and tuck me in bed at night and stuff. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, great roommate, a great guy, someone I miss dearly, still keep in contact with, still at the club actually. He'd probably say I was his favorite roommate as well. But yeah, early nights, that was the only positive. He was asleep 9:30, so I was forced to go sleep early, so that helped a lot.
Did he have any bad habits?
What's that?
Did he have any bad habits?
Not really. He'll eat dinner or whatever, and he'll go straight to bed. He would jump, take off his clothes. So I'll go play cards or, you know, play some poker or cards. Cards definitely was big. Not for Huggy. He'll come pop his head in at 8:30. Lads, just see the scores, see who's winning, losing. And off back to his room he goes. I'll message him. He won't reply. Straight to sleep, back at 9, 10 o'clock, and just go straight to bed. But that helped me because, you know, I felt that professionalism was essential for me, and we had a good combination, you know, banter, stuff like that. But a great guy.
Yeah, brilliant guy. Yeah, he is. And now I've got a feel I know your roomie was, but who were your roomie at the time you were?
I finished off as Ian Bennett.
Wow.
Benno.
I thought you were with Jordan. Have I got that wrong?
Were we roomies early on?
We were roomies for a stage at Ipswich, but I think because you were a senior member, you had your own room for a bit.
Yeah, that sounds like me. But I Huddersfield, I remember it was Benno, because it was me and Benno. Yeah, I remember playing, we had a good heart school. So young professionals like Jordan wouldn't get involved, although not that it's for money, really. You know, we might do a pound or something, but the heart school and the banter was absolutely brilliant on that bus. Can I just say that probably not the year in the championship, but the year before, we had the best set of lads, like not one bad egg, so much fun, no one big time, no one could be big time, you know. So I have to say, you know, just added to that, you know, that feeling, that really happy feeling. It was a really, really good club. Really made really good friends there.
It was great coming to work every day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Snooker.
It was such a laugh. Yeah.
finishing after training. Yeah, really was.
And who were your roomie, Jordan?
Lee Novak. Yeah, Novak was the my roomie for the duration.
Really?
Yeah, very similar, same bedtimes, and yeah, got for breakfast. Yeah, it was very easy to be roomies with Novi.
And I'm just going to ask you, Jordan, about your international career. Obviously, played for Scotland under 21s. But did England ever come knocking when you were a junior? And were you ever tempted to play for England?
Do you know what? They never came knocking. And there was always an eligibility that I could play for Scotland. So when the opportunity arose, then it was a no-brainer, really. It was almost like, yeah, I'll throw all my eggs in that basket. And I think I remember sort of the start of that season when I managed to score a few goals. I weren't playing, really. It was Al and Novak, and then I'd come on for Novak, and it would be sort of me and Al. But Novak started the season really, really well. And then I went away with the national team and managed to score sort of a couple of goals, and it was a decent international break for me. And I just brought that back, and it just brought me a bit of confidence. So I've always said and looked back sort of throughout the career, without that help, Scotland under 21s and Billy Stark's help going away with the the junior national team. I don't know if my career might have panned out like it has.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, final question, mate, is to Nahki. There's two-part actually. Nahki, who was the best poker player, and who was the worst? And we had Michael Effler on last week, and he was a character, obviously we all know, but what were he like in the dressing room? They didn't really say what he was like in the dressing room with Hef.
No, Hef was a one of a kind, shall I say. A great person to work with, always a bubbly character, always had a smile on his face. Overcame many obstacles. I know he had a few tough periods at the club at time with mistakes and not the best performances, but that didn't change him as a person. And I, his happiness and everything was just infectious, and it spread throughout the room. He was a strange guy, 100%. I'll be the first to say I'll be the guys I've ever met in football, but a great guy, just different, and a total team person. Someone that was great to work with, especially a fan's favorite. And you said snooker. No, you said, what did you say?
Poker.
I can't remember.
Well, I'll change that, Nahki, because we had Dean Whitehead and Tommy Smith on as well, and they were hammering you. They used to share a car with you, and they were hammering you last week, saying you were late every day. Now is your chance to get your own back.
But they're just trying to pick on me. See, that's lies. I roomed with Tom. I mean, I probably was on time, but Tommy is different levels when it comes to time. If he would say 8:15, he's there 7:50. I'm like, why are you here so early? You know what I mean? I can get here 8:14 and still be on time. It just he's OCD with everything. He's a clean, neat freak. He has to be on time. You can't leave a bottle in his car. He was a nightmare. Well, a great guy to share car school with. Me and him stuck through a lot of the time. Me, him, Mark Hudson joined along with us. Dean Whitehead joined along with us. Connor Cody joined along with us. Oscar Coburn. And I think it's even more. Just because we came from Manchester, he came further over in Chester, I think, and it's just the perfect car school, essential to be in and head across the way with. But yeah, I was on time. They're just different with their timekeeping than I
am. Exactly, and I cannot believe that's an hour. It's just, again, and I say it every week, it's just flown by. I've got loads more questions, but I don't know if you've seen the chat. There's absolute load of messages thanking all three of you, saying we miss you all. We'd love you all to come back to the club. It's been great to listen to you. Said how honest it's been, and they've really enjoyed it, and it's just absolute flow. So on behalf of me and everybody, I'd just like to thank all three of you giving your time up. We really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely to see you all.
Thank you.
And also, just before we finish, for everybody, don't forget you can still have your Magic Rock discount. Type in Bulver and you get 10% off any purchase. The Magic Rock social media competition was won by Kathy Clarkson this week. Look out for that next week. And we haven't got one next. We haven't got Boothy'S and Beer and Banter next week, but our next one is on April the 14th, Wednesday, April the 14th, and we've got Chris Schindler, Harry Toffolo, and one more of the senior players. So we've got, just look out for that, but it's not next week. It's April the 14th, Wednesday, April the 14th. Who's that, Al? What's his name there?
This is Harry.
Hello, Harry.
Hey, Harry, are you okay, Harry?
Yeah, he plays football now as well. A big soccer camp next week. So watch this space.
Oh, good. Will he play for Huddersfield? Will you get him up, Al?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we'd love to come up for a game and go onto the pitch if we could when things open.
Al, next time you're always welcome, and it can be mascot, and come on, we'd love to see you all there.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Lads, again, can I thank you for giving your time up? It's been a fantastic hour. Good luck for the rest of the season, but not too good. Jordan, good luck, Jordan. To not score as many goals. We're still in that little bit of looking over his shoulders. But good luck to you all. Nahki, all the best for the rest of the season as well. And thank you all again, lads.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And I will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you later.